The early models of the Haag-Streit slit mount had a reach forward elevation instead of the omnidirectional joystick that they have now. So for a good while, this was the type of elevation. They called it reach forward because you had to reach forward to operate the elevation. And sometimes this can get stiff, so you can refurbish this simply by loosening this screw, lowering it down, and then lifting and turning the carrier out of the way so you can pull the spindle assembly straight up. And you'll notice on the spindle assembly you've got the threads, which would need to be cleaned out, and inside of here you've got threads, you have a washer there, you have this surface, you have surface inside here, and on top of here where it rests, that would need to be cleaned and relubed with probably a number 3 grease. You have a washer here. It may come out and it would rest there. So go ahead and clean it and relube it with some number 3 grease and reinsert it. Make sure it's turning well, and then you'll notice it's got a position that it coincides with the carrier, and so it's got to be straight in there. It can't be turned. It's got to be straight with the carrier. And line it up and put your screw back on and tighten it up. Now, if you were curious about the mechanism in here that's different from the newer style models, we could take off our tower by removing the screw and taking the bushing out by removing the snap ring. You have to take that off, get the bushing off, then you would pull your arm off, your binocular arm off, and then that would be bare. By removing these 3 screws, and of course taking that one off, you can remove the whole spring assembly. Just pull it straight out. You'll notice it's got a little groove in here that fits beside the bearing holder inside here. So when you're putting it back, you would line it up and put it back in, slide it in, put your screws back in. But in here, this mechanism, this is where your spring is. You got a strong spring in here, and you probably don't want to mess with this at all. If you took those screws off, well, this spring would release, and it's a pretty long spring. This is how long it is. And it has a piston in here that the spring rides on. And that's how it travels, on this little piston. So You want to be careful about releasing these screws because it'll be hard to hold the spring in there. And if something happens and it is missing or gone, then you would have to fish the spring back in. And this little piston has threads in there. You could screw something in there. You could put a long pole or long screwdriver through there and push it through, back in, and put your piston in your spring, and then slide your cover back on. So this is the cover. So you don't want to take that off. And when you're putting it back in here, you can't turn it and put it in because this is one where the spring has been removed, and you'll notice how there's a straight edge in here, and that has to line up here so that it doesn't get in the way of going into position. So it will only go down if this flat part is tucked under here so that it can slide in here. So if you're dealing with this and it happens to turn, you won't be able to get it in because it's going to hit this flat edge is going to hit here, so that's got to be put back in. But this is the inside of where the spring goes. It goes in there like that, and your little piston goes in your spring and pushes all the way into there, and then your cover. And then your cover goes over there. So you don't want to mess with the spring if possible. So I just wanted to show you what's going on in the reach forward. It's fairly simple to refurbish this spindle assembly. If it's rough or stiff, you can quickly, easily refurbish that. Here's the washer that's underneath it. Some of them have a clear, thin washer here, a little plastic washer. These are so old you'll probably never run across one, but there may be some out there because they're still a good instrument, and you can still do procedures with it even though it's a different type of elevation. The tower assembly is interchangeable with the newer style. Just by unscrewing that and pulling it off, you could put a newer style tower assembly with the rotating diaphragm selector on it. So this part is interchangeable. These parts can only be used with the reach forward.